Now let's go over the syllabus, right? So here I'm providing my best way to reach me is my email, right? And these are the office hours I have picked. So I actually intentionally picked a regular lecture time frame, which was the time that was originally planned, and we only meet 4 times during 8 to 9:15 in this semester for the discussion, right? For the rest of the time, we have those hours freely available. So for office hour wise, like, and then, the people who actually originally signed up to take the course with me, pick that particular hour, right? So let's keep that as our office hour, right? And that in that way we can avoid other conflicts. You guys are going to be busy most of the time, so this is actually a guaranteed time where we can meet. In certain odd cases where you cannot, I have actually opened up a couple of more time slots on Tuesday, right? And those who actually have also signed up to do labs with me, these are actually my lab time slots, right? So there are plenty of ways that you can reach out to me during office hours. Now remember, office hours are also virtual, right? And in Blackboard, there will be links, right? That you can use to contact me for office hours, right? And for during this time frame, I can actually I will log myself into Microsoft Teams, like right now I'm already logged onto Microsoft Teams. So all you have to do is just drop in, then I will take you up in, and then we can um, continue talking from there onwards. Um, and for and just to be on the safe side, I would like to ask you to shoot me an email before you drop into the office hours, because like for example, if there's a student already in with me for the office hours, right? I can tell you, hey, there's going to be another student, so can you just stay around? Is it okay? Can you come 5 minutes after, 10 minutes after? So like that, so so that we don't wait around too long, right? Just shoot me an email before you drop by for the office hours. That said, I will make myself available, right? And if for some reason I had to cancel a particular office hour, I will shoot an email through Blackboard announcements, right? And speaking of that, actually, there's another thing I want to mention. So when I'm sending email through Blackboard, I will send it through Blackboard announcements, right? And because of that, if you go into your Blackboard page and click announcements, every email I sent will be visible through Blackboard announcements, right? For example, you remember that I sent an email, but you cannot find it in your inbox. Well, fine, go back to Blackboard, check under the announcements, you are going to see that email. Alrighty, let's continue on the syllabus right now. So, now in terms of texts, right? So these are the required texts. The first one is for the lecture. These two are for the lab. Now, the lab ones are definitely required because the way we do the lab, right, is based on these two texts, right? Some of the activities we do will be based on the text 2, right? And the writing will follow, or the statistical analysis we do will follow the text 3. The first one is only for me, for my lecture, right? Now, students keep asking, how do I use the textbook? Should I actually buy it? Well, depends on a lot of things. I made it required for a good reason. Not recommended, required it for a good reason. Now, one, the material I'm going to teach, 90% of that material I'm teaching is coming out of this textbook. So if you have a hard time understanding the concepts, the best way is actually go back and read the text, right? It will parallel exactly what I teach, right? I teach in a different way. The textbooks goes over things in a different way. So that's the number one reason. You can catch up things that you struggle with understanding in the way I teach it. Number two is your prereqs. So this course actually, has a prerequisite like mentioned over here, right? Bio 122, but I know that Bio 122, may not have been your best experience. I know that you guys struggle with Bio 122, right? And I teach Bio 122 and I have seen this. So if you were weak in 122, you are not happy with your knowledge base for 122, the textbook will help you to catch up with your basic ecology, basic organismal biology, basic evolutionary biology knowledge, right? Now that basic knowledge that you covered in your previous spring semester is going to be extremely important. It will come back over and over and over. So if you struggled in 122, if you didn't understand those material very well, please do buy the textbook, rent it, borrow it, and that will help you a lot. I will not develop assignments out of that textbook. Down in the syllabus, you will see that I assign a particular chapter for every topic I cover, but other than that, I will not assign anything out of it, unlike in the lab textbooks, I will assign activities out of that. So the question is how good you are in your 122 knowledge, how good you are in terms of understanding the material by following my lecture, right? So the final decision to buy the text, I'm going to leave it with you. I very strongly recommend that you buy it or rent it. All right, let's move onward. So now the biggest question that you might be struggling to understand is, what is semisynchronous? What does this mean? So that means we will, or it could be semisynchronous. People also use the term partly synchronous. So what does that mean? Well, that means we will only meet a very few times real time, right? All of us together, right? In a particular designated time point. And so that's what this means. So in our case, how many times are we going to synchronize? Well, like I mentioned at the beginning, only 4 times for the entire semester, right? And for those, we will meet from 8 to 9:15 of our regular time, right? That we picked at the very beginning of the semester, right? Actually, when you registered for the course, right? And so we will have 4 meetings, 8 to 9:15, Tuesday or Thursday for the entire semester to do the discussion component. That's it. Aside from those meetings, the rest of the lecture will be covered over voice over PowerPoints. What does that mean? I will record the lecture alongside my PowerPoint and upload that lecture to the Blackboard, right? To the course folder that I showed you earlier. And then in addition to that those lectures and discussions, there will be few assignments and quizzes. I did mention about the quizzes and assignments briefly. And now remember that all of those assignments, exams, quizzes will have a due date, a deadline, right? So you must stick with this. If you don't, if you skip a deadline, there will be penalties, right? And I will explain about the penalty for missing deadlines later down the syllabus, right? So since this is a virtual class, you might want to keep an extra pay extra attention to these deadlines, right? And you will also see these deadlines on Blackboard, and I will try to send you reminding emails regarding these due dates, but I don't have to, because the Blackboard will tell you when something is due. So pay attention, be very vigilant about not missing a deadline. So I also strongly warn against waiting until the last moment. The assignments that are due, the quizzes that are due, those are easy. Okay, fairly easy if you pay attention, if you do your work. But if you wait until the last moment to do this, then you will actually struggle a lot. And course rationale, well, you can read those yourself. And the course format is going to be virtual lectures and plus 4 synchronous sessions for discussion. For the lab, I am not going to cover a whole lot about lab today, because your lab professor will go over it, right? And those who are taking the lab with me, I will talk about the lab part separately and upload that particular component to your lab Blackboard page. Moving forward, well, the outcome, all of those you can read on your own. Attendance. Now, the attendance, I will keep attendance only during the synchronous meetings. Otherwise, there is no way to keep attendance. So you will receive a part of your participation grade in this syllabus will come from attending, right? For those 4 virtual sessions, right? And absences in those meetings, will cost you points, right? And if there's any conflict between one of the synchronous virtual sessions and some other unprecedented event, you are required to let me know, and I will evaluate that reason case by case, right? Because I'm picking a designated time, right, for the virtual sessions. It's not a completely different time. It's the same time you pick to take the class with me. So because of that reason, you should not have any other conflicts, right? But if you do, like getting sick, right, or a family emergency, you have to let me know. But remember, even if you have a valid excuse, right, a reasonable excuse, it is impossible for me to make it up for you. So it is your job to catch up to what you missed during these virtual meetings. Exam policy, exams are required. There are 3 of them. All 3 of them are required, right? And there will be no makeups or alternative offered, right? Without the prior notice, right? So all the exams, like I mentioned, are going to be take home, right, and open book, right? Still, there is a deadline for that, right? So if you skip the deadline, it's considered you missed the exam. So, but if some emergency comes in for the particular, during the exam due period, you have to let me know, right, as soon as possible, right, well ahead of the time if possible, right? If you get sick, of course, you would not know that you are getting sick ahead of the time. But if something happens, if shit goes wrong, right, you need to let me know as soon as possible. We will talk how to work around it, how to give you the makeup. And in terms of when an exam is taken, when I gave you back the grade, if you see something wrong, you need to take 24 hours from the day the exam is made available back to you and talking back to me. Take 24 hours, go over the exam, figure out what's wrong with it, and then you can contact me back to go over why you think there was a mistake at my part. Usually I don't make mistake. I'm very vigilant and very keen when I grade it, right? So mostly it's a student's mistake, right? Like why you lose particular points. I don't make mistakes. And moving onward, and if you want to bargain regarding a particular grade, you have 2 weeks from the time I return an exam, right? And how do I return exams? Over Blackboard. Technology is a very important component since we are doing this 100% virtually, right? So you need to have internet access from home, or if you are at the dorm, wherever you are, you need to have some internet access. And you will need to have all Microsoft applications, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and Microsoft Teams downloaded and installed. All of this, all these software is available to you free of charge through the IT support services, right? Using Google Docs or other default Mac versions like Numbers and Pages are not sufficient. They are not enough, right? They will not do the job, right? And guys, remember, when I say freely available, it's actually not free. You already paid for this as a part of your tuition, right? So don't waste your own money by not using this software. So installation of this software is extremely easy. It's just downloading this through the Blackboard page that I am mentioning over here, right? This is the Blackboard, the page, not Blackboard page, IT support service page, where you can access all the software, right? But if you are weak on technology, if you struggle with the installation process due to some reason, contact IT support service, and they will. And the how to contact, there's a phone number to reach them on their web page, and there's an email address in that particular web page. Do reach out to them and they will help you out. They're very good and they're very prompt in helping out us, right? So one of the most priority items is to get this technology part completed, and also for the virtual sessions and for office hours, you require to have a webcam and a microphone, right? So most laptops have both of these features, but if you're using a desktop, you will have to acquire a webcam and a microphone, right? But if it is a laptop, you are going to have all of those already integrated, so you should be fine. So again, I'm emphasizing this. I could not emphasize more. Make sure you have the technology part satisfied during the very first week of the semester, right? This week, right? Early this week is better, right? Because you're going to be busier down the road. Now, I try not to make any changes to the syllabus, to the course structure, to the course policies, right? And most often, for 99% of the time, I do not make changes because it's easy for all of us to follow things when we don't make changes, when we don't shift things around. But if I do, I will inform you through email or through Blackboard. Now to the late work policy. There are deadlines for everything that is due, right? If you miss a deadline, I accept late submission, but you will suffer a late penalty, right? 20% of your grade will be deducted for each day you are late, each day past the deadline, right? But what happens to that 20% if you are more than 5 consecutive days late? Well, you will lose 100%, right? So if you submit something after the 5th consecutive day, you will get a 0. It's an automatic 0, right? So even if you are late, do submit something. Something is better than nothing, right? And try not to miss the deadline. Those assignments that I'm asking you to do are super easy. I did mention earlier when I was going over the Blackboard that course management is going to go through Blackboard, right? Communication is going to go through Blackboard and email. So keep your eyes on email and Blackboard, right? Make sure you have access to Blackboard. If you do not have access to Blackboard, talk to the IT services immediately. And I believe they are also going to make the IT help desks available, and they are also going to make themselves available through phone and email. So contact them if you don't see Blackboard access, or if you have any problem with Blackboard access. And again, how to keep up with your grades? Look up the Blackboard, right? Everything will be updated within a week of every assignment will be graded within a week. Every exam will be graded within maximum of 2 weeks, right? So you will be promptly updated on your grade, right? I will not email you in person separately, right? Because this is much efficient way of communicating to you about your grades. And this is actually the grade distribution for the entire semester, including the lab component. Right, so what you see over here, this is the lecture part, this is the lab part. Now remember, the lab part is going to be the same across all the professors of all the sections, right? Lecture part will vary a little bit, right? I'm going to have, well, all professors will have 3 exams, right? Each exam will sum up to 12% of your final grade, right? And then in my case, I have those discussion sessions, right, where you are required to actively participate virtually online, synchronously through discussions, right? And that will sum up to 6% of your grade, right? The active participation will sum up to 6% of your final grade. 6% is quite a lot, right? So do make maximum out of these discussions, right? And again, I will go over discussions, right? Or that expectations as soon as I finish the syllabus component. Now there are several open book quizzes, actually 5 of them, 6 points each, that will total up to 3%. Those are open book pop-up quizzes. So I will announce the quiz through an email when it is made available through Blackboard. And then we will have, alongside the discussions, we will have these reflective summaries. So for a discussion session, you are reading a particular paper and we are discussing that scientific article, right? So in preparation for that discussion, you will write a small reflective summary. How to write this reflective summary? I will go over it later when I talk about the discussion component. Remember, this discussion component and the summary go hand in hand. Altogether, all the lecture components will total up to 57% of your final grade, right? Lab grade will sum up to, all the lab activities will sum up to 43%, right? And this is the percentage breakdown for each lab assignment. Now, do not worry too much about the actual total points possible, right? What you need to worry about is actually like the final weight, the percentage, right, that ultimately account for your final grade based on that particular assignment. That's what you need to pay attention to, right? Let's move further down. And so exams, all exams are going to be take home open book, and they will be made available to you through Blackboard, and those will be made available as a Word document through Blackboard. What you're going to do is you download it, save it locally, and start working on it, right? So generally the first two exams are going to be not cumulative, right? Non-cumulative. The final one will be semi-cumulative. What does that mean? Well, in fact, what does that mean is actually that the basic ecology knowledge you develop in the first and the second exam will be required for the final exam. That's what it mostly means, right? And does not mean, semi-cumulative does not mean that what you learn throughout the semester will be tested in the final exam. That's not what it means. And I will be very specific about what section you want to study for each exam. So you will know well ahead of the time what is the cumulative part is, right? And in certain cases, by the third exam, I have covered so much material, I usually make it non-cumulative, right? So do not think the final is cumulative. You don't have to know everything in the semester. I'm not going to do that, right? I will be very specific about what you need to know for each exam through a study guide. What will be the exam based on? Well, the textbook material, it's required, right? The lecture material. And remember, textbook and lecture goes hand in hand, right? And the readings we assign in terms of the discussions, right, and what we discuss during the discussion synchronous sessions will be part of your final exam, will be part of your 3 exams. An exam will comprise any combination of these: multiple choice, true, false, fill in the blanks, short answers, descriptive answers, right? And by the way, I do not have essay questions, right? Descriptive answer does not mean essay, right? And then again, for every exam, I provide detailed instruction on what the expectation is, right? So when you take an exam, please do read those instructions very carefully. Online quizzes. So quizzes will be online, right, through Blackboard, a web-based quiz, and those will actually cover the class discussions and lectures, right? So like I mentioned, if I give you a quiz on the 3rd week of September, right, the material that I cover in the quiz will be the ones that I covered in the 1st and the 2nd week, right? So it will be the immediate knowledge that I cover, right, in a quiz. And quizzes are intentionally designed to be easy, right? So as long as you keep up with the lectures I upload, you are going to easily score an A in the quizzes. And quizzes are again open book. But do study for them, right? Do go over my lectures for them. And active participation in virtual synchronous discussions and reflective summaries. Now, in short, what happens over here is I have already picked 4 different ecology-based journal articles, right, and have uploaded them already through Blackboard, right? And then I showed where to find them in the Blackboard, right? So, and the discussion days, virtual synchronous discussion days, are already picked, right? I showed those dates to you already, and I will do them again in a few minutes. And so in those days, we will meet virtually and discuss. So before the date of the discussion, what I want you to do is go read those articles, right, in preparation for the discussion, and write a short summary about that particular article that you read, right, and upload it to the Blackboard on the day before, right? And since all the discussion materials are uploaded, you have plenty of time to read them and write the summary. I advise you to actually stay until, do that within the 2 or 3 days before the discussion is due, because otherwise you will forget what you read. So for that one, actually, I'll do it within a couple of days before the discussion, not way ahead of the time, so that your memory is fresh. And what else about this one? So you're writing as abstract in preparation for writing a summary in preparation for the discussion. You upload it, and during the discussion day, right, we will meet virtually, right? And what I'm going to do is I will come up with a set of questions related to the paper you read, and I will post one question at a time, right, to you. And then I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to think about the question, brainstorm about that question, and then after a couple of minutes, I'm going to actually let you provide answers to that, right? So you will do that on one-on-one basis, right? And I will keep track of who's responding and who's not responding. So when you answer my questions, I am actually looking for active engagement. I am not going to penalize for a wrong answer or for an incomplete answer, right? As long as I see genuine effort, I will look for genuine effort to formulate a good answer. I will make sure that you have read the paper carefully, right? I will make sure that you are not lackadaisical, right? Don't answer for the sake of answering that question, right? I need genuine, enthusiastic responses. If you do that, even if your answer was wrong, if it is not perfect, I will give you the points. But if you don't, I will take points off, right? And when you answer the questions, don't read out of the paper, right? And you will not be able to answer by reading out of the paper, right? So that also shows that you are not prepared, right? So read the paper, and then formulate the answer in your head, and then provide that answer to me, right? And share that answer with the rest of the class. I will not pick on you for a wrong answer, right? For incorrect answer. And usually my experience when I do this, students tend not to provide me the wrong answer. They actually provide me a good answer, a correct answer, right? So it's a good way for us to engage, kind of get a vibe that we are in a classroom. And you will like it and you will enjoy it, trust me. Now, I keep mentioning that I will not go over the lab policies very much, right? I will only briefly talk about the lab policies. So we all will use SafeAssign for you to submit all your lab assignments, right? The worksheets and paper drafts. So all of those should be your own work. We actually take plagiarism very seriously, right? And again, do contact your lab professor regarding any questions you have about the lab policy. This one you see in the screen on your syllabus is a very, very brief overview. Academic integrity, you guys are not freshmen, you guys know about academic integrity very well. If you don't, please do read this particular link and understand how we take plagiarism. And also over here I explain, if I catch you for plagiarism, the process that I will follow, right? And so we take it very seriously, right? Do your own work, right? Do work collaboratively, work with your friends, meet virtually with them, or if it is a small group, meet in person, right? In safe environments. I'm completely happy with you doing that. But when assignment is due, do your own work on your own, right? When it is an exam or a quiz, do it on your own, right? Don't do it as a group, right? Okay. Now, if any of you carry accommodation, right, please send me an email with that accommodation letter. So now that said, I do want to know that, right, and you are, entitled to send that information to me. But now that said, remember that we don't have timed exams, right? It's like you have it's not going to be in class timed exams, right? So you will have plenty of time to complete your exam. So most of the disability accommodation, chances are you will not need it. You are going to have more time than you require. um and if you need special accommodation while you are taking the exam, you are required to contact your disability advisor with the student accommodation services to acquire that special accommodation. But as long as the timing is concerned, you are going to have plenty of time, right? But again, do reach out to me regarding those specifications. Um, Now, these are the additional student resources that you will most certainly find useful, so go over them yourself. And finally, to the actual course schedule, right? So I know we are only meeting 4 times, right? Virtually, synchronously. Those are the 4 dates, right? Discussion 1, that's September 24th. Discussion 2, that is October 27th. Discussion 3, November 12th. Discussion 4, December 3rd. Those are the 4 times we will actually meet real time. Mark those in your calendar. Make sure you don't miss them. If you miss them, you are losing points. Now, other lectures, right? Like first lecture is September 8th. So what you are going to get is you will actually see a particular presentation uploaded, right? For that particular week, right? Not just for that particular date, for that particular week, you will see a presentation uploaded. So I cover all the contents as much as possible, but I might change little bit. I might change, like, okay, this is very heavy material. I should give you guys not just a day but 2 days to digest that over, right? So in that way, I might actually give you, like, for example, for what is a good example over here? For biome lecture, right? Usually it takes a little bit longer time. So I might give you not just 2 weeks, maybe I will give you a week and a half to go over that material, right? And upload the next thing little bit after, right? But that aside, I will keep up with this particular schedule, right? And don't forget that you will have unlimited time to go over this material. I will not take down the lectures I upload. They will be available to you from the moment it is uploaded until the semester is over, right? Um, but what I'm trying to tell you is I will try my best not to overload with you with information. Particularly certain topics tends to be information heavy than the others, right? And some topics are harder than the others. So when I actually try to keep up with it, I will try to when I try to keep up with the schedule, I will keep in mind that certain lectures are harder than the others, that you will need more time to understand them than the others. So I will keep that in my mind as I move forward in the semester. And other than the lecture schedule and the discussion, like the exam dates, that's also really important. So the first exam, right, will be made available to you no later than the October 6th, right? So you download it from Blackboard, you finish it by October 8th, right? Upload it back by 10 a.m. to Blackboard. Now, and then the second take-home exam will be made available to you through Blackboard no later than November 17th, will be due by 19th, 10 a.m. Right? And the final exam will be made available to you no later than the 12th of December and will be due by 15th, right? Now, exams, unlike assignments, I will make the 10 a.m. deadline hard, right? It's a hard deadline, right? Exams, you cannot do it half an hour later, right? You cannot do it an hour later, right? Your professor might give you 5 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes. That's it, right? So keep that in your mind when you do these exams, right? You will at least have 2 days. If you read back the time frame, you will have a minimum of 2 days. Generally, when I make these exams, I actually target them for 1 hour and 15 minutes, right? And actually I target that you can finish it within 1 hour, right? And but this is a virtual setting. I will give you 2 days without changing the exam at all, right? It will be the same exam structure I would have done if this is a usual class, right? So meaning what? If you study properly, you can finish each of these exams within hour or hour to 15 minutes, period, right? And earn an A, right? But if you want to take your time, you have 2 days to do it, right? So I'm doing that because I know this virtual setting is hard. It's painful. It's not that easy on you. I understand that. So this is my way of cutting some slack on you, right? Rather than making you finish it within hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes, I'm giving you actually 2 days, right? That said, you will not need 2 days. Don't think, oh, professor is giving me 2 days, I should write more. No, do not, right? Do not think that way. When you take it, think as if you are taking this exam in hour and 15 minutes, right? In your head, work on this usual exam situation. And yes, they are open book. Yes, they are take home, right? You don't have to come to campus to take it. But make sure you have internet so that you can submit it back and download it. So here the last thing is the entire lab schedule, right? So again, your lab professor is the one to reach out regarding any lab question, right? If you have any question regarding lab assignments, need help with lab assignments, need help with submitting things, reach out to the lab professor, right? Anything regarding lecture, reach out to me. Now that said, if you are taking the lecture with me, when you are dropping by an office hour, please feel free to ask lecture and lab questions at the same time, right? Well, that's all about going over the syllabus. The next is to talk about assignments.